Okay, I'm back. I was wondering if this is going to happen today. I think there's a lot of people online today talking about 11/11. We're going to break the internet. And that's so true. It's happened. I've seen it happen where the energy is so vibrant and there's a lot of energy, going through the ethers, and that's what happens. So anyways, welcome back. So I left off with talking about intention, the second card, and talking about what intention that we're going to set for ourselves and for the world. And next one is romance. So, romance. It's an obvious card, right? But more than that, when I see the romance card, I kind of also see it as the lover's card in tarot. Beyond the romance, usually this talks about a union of two people, or something that has to do with a coming together of something. So it doesn't always have to necessarily mean anything romantic. And that's funny, because not funny, but like it's the funny part. The coincidentally, I should say, is that the number 11 is all about the same thing. So coming together, um, the coming together and the connection of union, and bringing the together of you as a human connecting to the universe. And then you have the number 11 right next to each other. Truth and wisdom. It's coincidence, right? But anyways, romance. So again, not necessarily have to do with romance, but definitely has the energy of love and union, and how can you come together um, to create this thing that is harmonious. That's the thing that we think about with romance, right? And the yin and the yang, female and male energies. You need the opposite. You need opposite things for things to come together. And how do you do that? Right? How do you create that balance and that union? It's also related to partnership, and like I mentioned before, duality, and of course love. So when you draw this card, or if you pick this card, what is it in your life where you are seeking um, a balance of duality, or a coming together of a union, uh, and seeking that connection where everything comes together in a nice, beautiful, uh, harmonious connection? Okay, that's what we're looking at here. Again, once you start painting, you'll have more messages come to you as you connect to your higher wisdom. Hi, Lisa. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so for the Creative Collective, I didn't choose it, but the card that decided to show up for us today is Judgment. And again, connected to 11/11. So this is all about an awakening or a new awareness. And I know that the entire world, the last few weeks, um, since COVID really, and coming up to the end of 2020 and into 2021, a lot of us have been, really questioning things and seeing things with with new eyes, and coming to a new awareness or an awakening of something. And I know that a lot of people have been connecting to that thing that is bigger than them. Okay, going back to 11/11, connecting their human physical body with that thing that is bigger than them, that is supporting them. So this connection of an awareness that is bigger than you. And sometimes that awareness is not something that we see in a physical form, but it is a truth and a wisdom that supports us in an enlightened way. Okay? And so these are all, messages also from our angels. And how funny, there's a picture of angels in this painting, or in this card at least. And there's a picture of a white dove, which symbolizes peace. Okay, so this is definitely a message from our angels. 11/11 is an angel number. 11 is an angel number. This is about manifesting things into reality and bringing that new awareness, that spiritual awareness that we're trying to connect to, and manifesting that into reality, into physical form. Okay, and it's all connected to your spiritual life purpose as well. Okay, and really connecting to that energetic gateway up to the heavens, up to the cosmos, and radiating positivity as well. Okay, so that's for the collective. Very powerful card on this 11/11 day. All right, so let's paint. So I'm going to put these aside and we will start painting. Put that there. Let me, actually, before I do that, I'll review one more time. Okay, so if you chose card number 1, that was listening to your higher self, listening to our guides, listening with compassion and love, heart-centered listening, and any other messages that come through while you paint, those will come through. The second card was intention. What are your intentions, not only for yourself, but for your loved ones? And how will your intention ripple out to the world and out to the universe for the greater good? That's number 2. And third one is a romance card. And beyond romance, beyond love, what things are you trying to connect together to create union? So we're talking about duality, female, male energies, yin and yang. How are we bringing those together to create harmony and love? And last but not least, for the creative collective, for all of us, judgment. So this is all about a new awareness, an awareness that is bigger than anything that we could see or feel, messages from our higher, not only from our higher selves, but from the cosmos, the universe, God, goddesses, whatever you'd like to connect to. What is that new awareness, that new awakening that you have been connecting to? Again, more messages will come in to you personally as we paint. So listen to those messages as you start your artwork. All right? All right, so let's start painting. So you'll notice that if you have worked with me before, when we paint, you'll notice that you'll start off kind of with that judgy, judgy left brain, like, oh, what am I going to paint? I don't know. What should I paint? And just kind of let go of that. Just think of this as doodling. So we're going to do a warm-up doodling exercise. So whether that be with a pen or watercolors or acrylics, we're just going to lay some things down. Just lay it down. Right now I'm just creating, randomly putting some clear water on my paper to see what happens when I do my watercolors. So I'm going to activate my watercolors right now. If you have acrylics, that's great. If you want to do collage or just plain doodling on a piece of napkin or your journal with a pen or pencil, that is perfectly fine too. All right. So I'm feeling very flowy today. And so I'm going to do flow. And again, no rhyme or reason. I'll start my paintings, you know, with no plan necessarily, but I always start them with intention. So my intention that I had today was to connect with you all online for this magical day. Every day's magic. And set the intention of spreading that beautiful angel energy um, into the world. And so when I think of angels, I've always thought of them as, guides and guardians, you know, those who help us as we make our way through life and quietly guide us along the way. Ooh. Okay, so now I'm going back. I'm going to go. So since I'm painting, and I pull these cards, I'll probably myself personally will connect to all four of them as I speak and as I paint, because I pretty much connected to those energies. So I'll probably do a combination of all four cards, and you're more than welcome to do that as well. If you want to focus on the one card that you connected with, you could do that as well. Whatever comes to you, just go with the flow. There's no wrong or right way to do art, and there's no wrong or right way to connect with your intuition. Okay? Just let everything flow beautifully. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Now, I see your names, but I don't see any chats. I thought I would, but I'm not sure. So, for some reason, if you're asking questions or anything like that, and I don't get to your question, it might be because it's not popping up on my screen. And the reason why is because I am trying a new app today, and I'm just not sure if it's going to work. But let me know if you want to try it out. Go ahead and type a message in, and I'll let you know if I see your message. Okay, so start with that. I might play another more on that. So what I did was I just glazed I started out with clear water, and now I'm just laying down little waves of color, and it's making me think about the color of intention. I mean, the card that I drew of intention, and how I talked about how whatever intention that you set for yourself, that energy can ripple out to the world. So, it ripples out to your closest ones, your loved ones, and then that energy then ripples out beyond your home, out into the world, in the grocery store, when you're driving, whether you know it or not, whatever intention that you set for the day or the morning or whatever activity you're going to do, that's going to ripple out into the world. So that's what I'm feeling right now. All right. Okay. Use a little less water and more pigment to make this a little bit darker on this next layer here. As you can see, as I add more layers, the pigment is making things darker. And if you're doing watercolors alongside of me, and you can see that, oh, wait, I've got too much water flowing across my paper, you can always take a paper towel and dab it like that. So that's going to lift pigment and water if you want that effect. And then let that piece dry, and you can add more pigment afterwards. So if you've painted with me, you know that I go back and forth from giving little art tips to talking about what intuitive information is coming through as I paint. And that's the beautiful thing about intuitive artwork and intuitive painting, just like doodling, you don't really have a set plan, but you're letting your paint flow across your paper, across your page, and you know, once you get going on doing this, you'll feel that after 10, 15 minutes, your creative flow to start, and then whatever judgments you had about, oh, what am I going to paint? I'm doing this wrong. Am I doing this right? I have no plan. Oh no, that's all going to melt away, and you're going to really start flowing into this really nice creative flow where um, your intuition kicks in, and I can feel it happening as I speak. My mind, my mouth wants to be quiet, like my voice wants to just like, okay, be quiet, you're talking too much, and just like my intuition is telling me naturally to just quiet down, quiet your mind. My right brain hemisphere is literally kicking right now. Just quiet down and paint and see what comes through. So, and as you paint, you know, you're going to go through phases where, oh, I don't like this. This is not looking good, or this isn't flowing. And that's totally normal because the creative process is very messy, as is life, right? So, add more, got more of this beautiful violet here. I think I might do some splashes here. All right. So if you have any questions, see if, does anyone want to ask a question? I want to see if my chat works. I'm not sure if it does or not, but feel free to ask. If you want to, no pressure. If you're in the creative mode, that's great too. All right. Oops. Let's see here. Whoa. Got a lot of water on here. Let's see what happens. I'm just splatting some water. I mean, some purple onto the pages. There we go. All right. I've been working with watercolors a lot lately. Typically, I work with acrylics if you've been following me for a while, but I had somebody ask about watercolors, so that's why I've been doing it, and it's been a great way to fit the canvas onto a live screen like this, so it works out really great. But I do have some large canvases, oversized canvases that I like to work with, and I'll probably do some time-lapse videos of that as well. And I'm just going to wipe these cards. I'm blessing my cards with beautiful rainbow paints. Isn't that funny? So if you ever get a personal reading from me and there's paint splattered on it, it's all good. It's my intentions, my positive intentions set into those cards. I might go in with some oil pastels. So I've got these pastels that are water-based, and what that means is I can use them wet or dry. And I think I might try that out right now. Let's see, what color shall I use? I've been really loving this bright pink fuchsia. So with this, you can either blend it in just like that, or you can paint it, or like this. I'll show you. You can wet the tip and paint, and use it just like a watercolor. I'll show you what it looks like. on the white part like that. Or you can draw right on your paper or your substrate and then paint on top of it. Can you see that? With your paintbrush, just get a wet paintbrush and dissolve and the pigment and move it around your page. Go. So that's that. I think I might add a little more, some more orbs. Oh my gosh, I just thought of something. Okay, so speaking of angels, I have, hi Anne, hi Joyce. Nice to see you here. So okay, I have a lot of mama friends, and I was telling them the story, speaking of orbs, of well, it's not a story, it's a book. It's called Spirit Babies. And if you have never read it and you're like really close to working with children or have children, I highly recommend that book. But it talks about the author, who I can't think of his name right now, but he would see these orbs of light. Since he was a little boy. So I guess he grew up Catholic, and so he would go to church, and he'd be in church and he'd say, "Oh, hey, look at, I see angels everywhere." And people would nod at him and say, "Oh yeah, angels," and just kind of, not brush him off, but say, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, you see angels." But it turned out that he really did see angels, and the angels were in the form of these orbs, like orbs of light, basically. And turns out that he specifically connects to baby spirits. That's the story. You could read the book, but he connects to baby spirits, and he sees these orbs, and he's there have been families that have come to him. So basically, he's a medium, or yeah, he connects to spirit in that way. And he's had mothers and fathers come to him for guidance, and he sees these orbs floating around them. And supposedly that orb is their spirit child if they haven't been born yet. And yeah, it's really interesting. And or if there's a family whose child has passed, sometimes they'll go to him and he'll see the child's orb. And what's interesting is that these little baby spirits are supposedly floating around just waiting for the parents to be ready to have their kids, their baby. You just have to read the book. It's I mean, I might be chopping it up a little bit, but I found it fascinating because I read the book after I had Kira, and it had me in tears. It had me in tears because, if you don't know the story, I waited for a long time to have kids, and when I gave up on having kids, I got pregnant. Miracle! Miracle on 34th Street. But anyways, I ended up getting pregnant, and I truly believe that she was sent from the heavens. And I don't know. I just, yeah, I was in tears when I heard that, when I read the book. And anyways, he talks about how these spirit babies are floating around, and it's connected to your karma. So if you know anything about past lives, we have these karmic lessons that are carried through from our past lives. And these karmic lessons all are also connected to the people that are in your life. So if there's somebody that's in your life that you're connected to, or you have a strong bond with somebody, whether it's a family member or your best friend or your spouse, you were connected in a past life, and you're there in each other's lives right now to learn from past life lessons and to learn new lessons. And that's what karma is all about. I know a lot of people think about karma like, oh yeah, that's karma, like if somebody is mean, or and then like, oh, that's going to be their karma, or if someone's nice, like, oh, they got good karma. Yeah, there's that part, but there's also these karmic lessons that we bring into our present day lives from past lives, that karmic energy and the lessons that we learn, that wisdom, it carries, it's in our souls, and then there's a connection to other people that are in our lives as well. Anyways, whew, that could be a whole nother lesson. All right. So I don't know where I'm going here. I'm going somewhere. This is how my paintings start. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know, but so far I've talked about the waves being intention, the ripples of intention, and then I talked about the orbs and spirit babies, which is pretty connected to what we're doing today because we pulled angel cards and we're connecting to that higher source, that higher source 1111, the beam of light coming down from the cosmos, from the heavens, connecting us to our physical form. And spirit babies help us with that. They're like brand new from the cosmos, from the heavens, from that bigger thing, that energetic being, and coming into physical form and teaching us lessons. We think as parents, if you're a mom or a parent, we think we're here to teach them. They're here to teach us, right? They're here to teach us. It may not look like it or seem like it, but oh my gosh. Am I right or am I right? Okay. I think I might play with some ink, some acrylic ink today. So I'm going to shake up some of this acrylic ink and do some drips on here and see what we get. Beautiful magenta. Oh, I have my paper tape down today, so I'm not going to be able to lift. Sometimes I like to lift my paper up so that I can see create drips that come down, but this liquid acrylic ink is so liquidy that it almost does it on its own, even on the paper here. So let me mix that with some. I wonder what happens if I mix it. Do I want a dark color? Let's see. Let me see what happens if I do a little white. Some white drips on there. Ooh. And it's really beautiful how the acrylic ink mixes with the wet watercolor as well. So sometimes even after it dries, it'll activate the watercolor and kind of make these really beautiful watery effects. Okay, I'm just going back and going over the wavy waves to see what happens with my big brush. So I've got these watercolor brushes that I've had for years that I use for illustration. And so if you're new to watercolor, usually I have specific brushes just for watercolor. I don't use my acrylic paints with them because watercolor is a delicate, like when I do illustrations, it's very delicate and sometimes even precise. And I used to do science illustrations, so a lot of precision there. And usually when you work with acrylics, it's more, you can tend to be more rough with the brushes, and so that's why I use separate brushes to preserve the beauty of the brush, the bristles. And watercolor, well, any type of brush really can be, if you get the good quality kind, they can be quite costly, but well worth the price. Let's see here. So what's happening here? Everything's just kind of flowing together in an unplanned way. And I think I might even see what's happening right now is my paper is getting really wet, and so it's buckling up. You can't see it, but there's like a little buckle because of the water, and so that's telling me that there might be too much water and liquid in the paper, and that's the reason why I like to tape my edges down, is so that it doesn't like curl up on the edges. But what I'm gonna do, that's okay because eventually it'll flatten out, and there's ways to flatten it out. But I think I might come back in a second and kind of blot my paper either with a paintbrush or a piece of paper towel and see what kind of effects we can come up with. All right. So my mind is quieting down. I'm not ignoring you. My intuition is kicking in, and I'm getting into this flow of sorts. And it's kind of hard to do, to talk and paint at the same time. But if you're painting along with me right now, what I highly suggest, what I love to do, my favorite thing to do, is to turn on some music. So whatever favorite artist you have, whatever tunes that you have to get you in the mood, it's a really beautiful way of getting to that nice flow and getting that inspiration. When you feel that music, it's so inspiring, isn't it? You know what I need? This is my left brain talking. I'm feeling like I need some green. In these corners. Ooh, that's pretty. The green mixing in with the turquoise. Let's see what happens when I do that. Okay. So you see when I go right next to the acrylic ink, it just has a beautiful way of mixing in with the watercolors because it's got a different viscosity. It's a little bit thicker, but it still shows its pigmentation. Maybe some green down here. A little mountain. Okay. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little lost in my painting and I'm not sure which direction I'm going, as far as, following my intuition, and because I don't have a plan, I'll go back to the cards that I drew and I'll say, okay, so we had judgment, so that's about awareness, romance, so union, duality of sorts, communion, partnership, or like I'll just go back to the cards. My intention, okay, what was my intention today and how's that going to ripple out into the world? Listening, so how can I bring that into my painting? And so again, like I mentioned before, I myself am going to use the inspiration from all four cards in my painting today. So you can just connect with your one or whichever ones that you resonated with. But sometimes I'll reconnect with the card and say, okay, now how can I bring that energy back into the painting? How can I add more of that? So I've already set my intention with the flow and the ripples, and then I really haven't really touched upon any other one except for the awareness and talking about the angels and the orbits, the spirit babies. So I think yeah, and listening is such an abstract thing, but I talked about when you paint, you'll start hearing, not voices like you're crazy, but you'll start hearing messages come through. Your higher intuition, your subconscious brain will start to speak to you, and you'll hear messages, quiet messages, come in to your right brain hemisphere and start speaking to you in that way. So, and as far as listening goes, what's coming through right now. I mean, you don't have to draw or paint an ear or anything specific, like, anything, what do you call, literal, right? So, anyways, I'm just saying. So now I'm just filling in little spaces that I see, little shapes that I see on my paper. And I'm beginning to see like these little beautiful effects that the watercolor, uh, the colors coming together and blending and flowing in these small areas and creating like this little like river like uh, character. Like, you could see the flow of the pigment and the water coming together. It's really pretty. I'll show you a close up. Let's see if I can get a close up here. Let's see. Do do do. I don't know if you can see that. There's a glare, but with watercolor, I'll show you after it dries too. There's these little tiny, like almost like nature, like when you're in a river and you see at a riverbank and you're like standing in the sand and you could see the water cutting into the sand, or even at the beach, say at the beach at low tide, and you could see the water cutting through the sand and creating like little tiny miniature rivers and the water flowing through it. That's kind of what's going on right now on my paper. And I thought about doing acrylic today, but I think this is good. Okay. What other elements can I bring into my painting? So now I've got my artist brain talking. Now, if I were to do this quietly by myself, I'd be 100% in flow with my creative intuition. But I've got part teacher hat on, part spiritual guide part this, part that. Anyways, now I'm babbling. I'm blabbling. Is that any word? Babble. Okay, so I'm just going again, little pockets of color just to see where everything flows. And if you have a blow dryer, you could take a blow dryer and dry the first layer before you paint on more layers if you like to. And what I'm doing right now, and especially since it's cold, it's not summertime, so nothing's drying fast at all right now like it usually does in the summer, but this is really nice for me because I love painting wet on wet. And that's a technique, it's called wet on wet, where the paint, watercolor specifically, where the paint stays wet and you add more pigment on top of the wet. And that's what creates these beautiful blends of color, the flowing of color together. So I don't mind it, but if you feel called, you can put a blow dry the first layer, and then you'll be painting wet paintbrush, wet on dry, and then what's happening is they'll be doing a glaze of watercolor over the dry watercolor that you put down in the first layer. I hope that's all making sense. And sometimes that's a good thing to do if you don't want any muddy colors. So if you feel like you want to stop the colors from blending together, just wait for it to dry, take a break, or put a blow dryer on it. Okay. I might add more color here. Sometimes I'll look at little spaces and see where I could add more interest. So if something's looking a little blah, like, that's boring. I'll come here, like in this corner. Okay, that's like two straight edged lines, and I'm gonna make it interesting. So I'm gonna go over here and add a little bit of violet. Maybe do another glaze over that. Connect it to this part that's already wet, and watch that beautiful pigment just flow right in there. And now, voila, it's a little bit more interesting. And I might come in down here with a little red, this crimson red, and maybe I'll add a little more interest there. And sometimes, I like to leave a little of the white watercolor paper coming through the bottom because technically, if you are, a watercolor off, a watercolor, I don't want to say snob, not a snob, but technically watercolor, the beauty of using watercolor paper is to let the white part of the paper to come through the translucent colors of the watercolor. And that's why watercolors are so vibrant, is because of that white, the white color coming through the pigments. Hi, Valerie, welcome. Okay, so this is my first layer. I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and I'm going to think about what I want to do next. And so I think okay, this might sound kind of not weird, but I'm thinking of the number 11, and I could, if I wanted to, paint the number 11 or two things that represent 11 right next to each other. Remember the romance, the union of something? You could do something really abstract and paint two things and the coming together of two things, like um, two shapes, or like yin and yang, the yin and yang coming together. Um, or paint the number 11. The number 11, or two like beams of light coming through from the cosmos onto the earth. That would be really cool too. Um, yeah, I think what I'm thinking I might do something different that I haven't done yet in the previous live sessions that I've done. I might even paint angel wings. Okay, I'm thinking out loud. Babbling again. I think it's so interesting that we pulled this card today. I'm just looking at this again, and that Judgment and the angels, and we pulled angel cards. That was intentional, using the angel cards today. But the fact that we pulled, from a different deck for the collective, and it's about the awakening, or like a new awareness of coming, that connection again to spirit, the thing that is bigger than you, and seeing that lesson or that connection to the source that is bigger than you, and connecting it to yourself, that awareness, right? When you think of awareness, you think about your crown chakra, and being open. Open when you look at the sky, you look at the stars, you feel open. Okay, so now I'm forming my inspiration for today. I think what I want to do is I'm going to paint an open sky with stars, like not the galaxy. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe some angel wings. I don't know. Okay. Okay, my left brain's like, oh, what are you going to do? Come on. Don't you have a plan? Okay, be quiet, left brain. Trying to get in the flow here. Okay. So, let's see here. I think I might play with some more of these pastels. I did the pink. I really love this color. Orange. Okay. Let's see what comes about. Just going to peel this back a little bit. There we go. There. Okay. Don't mind me. I'm just singing. So, some of the watercolor is still wet, so it's going to smear and blend with the pastels, and that's okay. I'm just creating a shape of a, oh yeah, I see that. I see it right here. A shape of a wing right there. So I'm just gonna do one wing on this side, go to this corner, and let me see if I can mirror that. Ooh. Now, whatever you paint today, it could be as abstract as you want it. Okay, it doesn't have to be anything that's recognizable. It could be a feeling. You don't have to do what I'm doing, obviously. You can if you want to, but what I am doing is I'm creating these angel wings, or the shape. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe that needs to come closer together. And I'm making a mucky mess, which is part of the creative process, so I'm okay with that. And if you're new to making art and, the creative process itself, Be messy. I encourage you to please make mistakes, you know, as with life. Oh, I broke the crayon. As is life, you know, you learn by making mistakes, right? And rules were made to be broken. So whatever you learned in art school or whatever, you could throw those out the window too. So if you're here and you're an advanced artist, I encourage you to throw some of those rules out the window as well. Okay. So there's the beginnings of my angel wings, I think. I don't know. We'll see. So if your crayon or pastel breaks, that's okay. You know, you can always use the side of your pastel to blend in and fill in things like that. Maybe I'll do this corner like that. Okay. You could use that to blend and smear. So that's one technique I haven't done yet, the smearing with your fingertips. All right, I'm gonna do that right now. Let's see what happens. Art is all about experimentation, and especially intuitive art. It's all about experimentation and seeing where the energy flows. Okay, so there's no right or wrong way to do this, and that's the beautiful thing. Again, I always say about intuitive artwork is that it's all about following your intuition and following that energy. Gosh, am I being redundant? I hope not. But in a good way. I'm doing it in a good way. Okay, so you see this here? I don't know if you can see it up close, but there's a beautiful fluid energy right here with the acrylic paint, the acrylic inks, and the purple, and so, and the white. So when you see something like that and you want to keep it, just kind of leave it alone and be aware of it and just paint and create around that. So sometimes I'll see something that I really love and I won't paint over it and try to be conscious of it. But if I do paint over it and I forget, that's okay too. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that out. Like if there's some beautiful pattern that you see that came about because of the colors mixing together, just note it and say, oh, wow, that's lovely. I think I might keep that. And just work around it. Work around the beauty. Keep the beauty. Embrace the beauty. All right, do we have white? I really like that white, how the white is interacting with the color. So I might come back with this acrylic ink. And this time, I'm going to put some of this white acrylic ink. I've got this plastic plate here. And in that corner, so I can play with it a little bit more. Maybe I'll make that, well, I'm not even going to say anything out loud. Maybe I'll make it part of the angel wings. But see, when I say something and it doesn't happen, you know how that goes. I'm kidding. Okay. So I might just start forming these little feathers that are right here. And I might not fill them all in, but I'm just kind of going with the flow. And I have this thing about counting. So, okay, I have a design background. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't know why I mean, I know why, but I always count and want things to be in odd numbers. And you think that even numbers would create balance, but odd numbers create a beautiful balance as well. Okay. This is looking mighty messy, and that's okay. I'm gonna just loosely put some feathers in and see where it takes me. And so like when you're looking at wings, there's the little tiny smaller wings that even in birds that are on the inside on the front row. Sorry, I can't think of the scientific terminology for that right now. But anyways, that's what I'm doing at this moment. Just really just being very loose. Loosey goosey. And going with the flow. How do I want that feather to look like? You know, you can always come back and paint over anything that you think that's a mistake, or it could just be a happy mistake, right? And I think I might try and focus on the bigger wings on the outside right now. So let me just look at the main, boom, the main shape. And there was a big wing right there. There we go. That's the top one. Let me go like that. And I'm gonna refine the shapes as I go along. Refine the edges and the outline. And right now I'm just kind of going with the flow. Let's see, how do I want that? This is very abstract. Very abstract. So I'm not concerned with, you know, this feather being the same exact measurement as that feather. Even though I'm thinking it, my left brain is thinking, whoa, it's not matching. But I'm going with the flow of what I've already laid down on my page. And if you think about it, okay, think about a bird flying, right? Does a bird say, oh my gosh, I'm not flying evenly, my wings aren't perfect? Like, you know, think about nature. Does it stop flying in midair and say, my wings are not perfect? No, it just does it. And actually, when I said that, it reminds me of Deepak Chopra's Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. He talks about that in his book, and he mentions like a flower, for instance. You have a flower and you plant the seed in the ground and you water it. But is the flower thinking, I better grow, I better try, I'm trying so hard to grow, I better grow so good? I'm totally paraphrasing, but a flower doesn't try to grow, it doesn't try to bloom. No, it just grows, blooms, it's nurtured by its sun and water, right? And so how can we take that energy of being human beings also. Like, what how can we learn